We've got one house to live in for our whole lives. You can't short sell it. You can't sell it. You can't foreclose on it.
Well, you foreclose, you're dead.
Our bodies, it's better that you take control of it and take care of it now before it's too late, because when it's too late, your kidneys fail, your heart failed, like something happens. Then you're going to look back and wish all the simple things that were there and available to you to do. You're going to just constantly obsess about should've, should've, should've. People ask me about what supplements do I take? How do I train? I'm like, well, why don't you ask the more important question of what do you...
What's up, well builders? Today, I've got one of my most jacked guests ever. This man is the trainer of the Elliot Army. If you don't know who that is, that's Andy Elliott's. I don't even know exactly what they're doing, but they're just all getting super jacked. This guy's responsible. He's making jorts cool again. I got none other than Aaron Wilkerson. What's up, man?
How you doing, Ryan? It's good to be here with you.
Yeah.
Jorts are going to be a thing again, watch.
Dude, you make them look good. You're freaking like, I don't know that your legs can fit in them. Andy always gets like, they always say Andy's pants are too tight. And I'm like, you guys haven't seen Aaron. Aaron's like, he has to wear jorts.
You know, it comes from when I was a bodybuilder in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
I was super skinny, and this one Marine took a box of toothpicks and threw them at me and told me to go find my legs. Since that day, I've been obsessed with leg training.
Oh, man. So you said you had chicken legs.
Chicken. I did. I really did.
You know what's funny? I found this out with bodybuilders and people who get like super into fitness. Most of them were very like insecure, and that's what really pushed them to just get like crazy. Have you found that to be true?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
For me, I just fell in love with it when I was in Japan.
Yeah.
And when I started doing it and saw my body change, I just became fascinated with it.
Yeah.
But the insecurity thing is a real thing, especially if you grow up getting picked on, or you're that kid that just doesn't stand out, and it's a way to actually make you stand out.
Oh, for sure.
When you walk into a room, you just there's something different about the conversation and the way people view you when you walk in and you're in shape.
Oh, for sure. Andy's obviously been here a bunch of times, and usually you're with him. And then I didn't know, but you had been living in Vegas for the last 3.5 years before you moved out to Arizona with Andy. And I remember he was saying, hey, you need to have Aaron on the show because his story is crazy. This dude's changing lives. We're getting people in shape. And, I think Andy's now becoming very known for the health side of things, right? Like he's getting on people like, hey, if you don't have a six pack, you can't work for me, right? And so how did all that come about?
Me linking up with Andy?
Yeah.
Well, a speaker named Rene Rodriguez and I connected back in Louisiana, and he saw my story, or he heard me tell my story, and he's like, you have a great story. Let me help you tell it better. Oh, and by the way, get me in shape. So that's where the relationship started with Rene, and then he introduced me to Andy and Brad at one of these events here in Vegas. And Andy and I just hit it off. The next week, I drove out to Scottsdale. We sat down and talked. I spent about 2 days there and just got to know each other. And we have so much in common, it's scary. I mean, the dude literally is my brother.
Yeah.
And it was just like a no-brainer, because for me, everything that I want to do in life is about purpose. Hollywood is cool and fun, and you can get the highlight reel from it. But at the end of the day, when you go home, it's a very empty feeling, because I'm a Marine, and everything I do is really geared around providing some value and doing something with my life that I can help people, because I think a lot of the knowledge I have is very important to share with everyone, especially in this day and age. So I moved out there, and we're building it out.
Yeah. So speaking of story, Rene said you had a crazy story, and now that you mentioned Hollywood, I remember Andy saying that as well, that you used to train all these Hollywood celebrities and everything. So tell me a little bit about like your background.
Well, growing up as this skinny kid in Daytona Beach, Florida, to your point a little while ago, like I got my ass kicked. I was bullied.
Yeah.
Tremendously. And my family started going through divorce when I was in 6th grade. It really affected me in a crazy way. I got depressed. And in 7th grade, I started fighting back. And when you fight back, I think you're inevitably going to fall into the wrong crowd. So I'm hanging out with drug dealers, almost died in 7th grade from an overdose on cocaine and speed.
Wow, at 7th grade.
7th grade, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I kind of just navigated through the rest of my childhood years, trying to stay out of trouble, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And about my sophomore, junior year of high school, I realized I don't have anything lined up. Like, what am I going to do with the life that I currently have, because I've squandered so many opportunities. So this one buddy of mine who was a linebacker on the football team, the varsity football team, I saw him go into the Marine Corps, into boot camp. And when he came back, I didn't even recognize him. I mean, he changed so much. And that was the spark where I was like, I want that. I want what he did. I want people to see me like that. And I went to the Marine Corps, Parris Island, South Carolina.
So how many years did you do that?
I did 7.5 years active duty, and then I went back overseas and did 4 more years of contract work.
So with contract work, does that mean like you're out and now you're working in the private sector?
Yeah, essentially I'm on DOD contracts.
Okay.
So there were 2 that I was over there working on primarily. It was all classified stuff. So usually when you say contract work, you look at someone like me, you think you're automatically he's a shooter. Yeah. Blackwater, DynCorp, something like that. But actually, my last duty in the Marine Corps, I did personal security for General Pace, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I was thinking about the longevity of a technology career, because his executive assistant at the time was like, hey, we're fielding an identity management program downrange, and we're looking for solid people, and I think you'd be a great team leader. So I was like, I'm in. And went downrange, did the first 2 years on base access, which was 10 tier 1 sites, 5 tier 2 sites, and 3 DNA labs. So ultimately, it's all biometric based. In order for someone to access our base, you've got to be enrolled biometrically, and you'll be given a smart card. Therefore, when you come onto our bases now, you have to identify who you are. And every day, there's a revocation list that's updated, because we've got forensics team who are out across the theater of operations collecting forensic data, pulling latent fingerprints off of bombs and things like that. So if you were one of those, you're going to hit if someone got your fingerprint. So that was the premise of that. 2 years later, I went on to do some different work where I was dealing directly with the Iraqi government. I was the liaison between the U.S. government and the government of Iraq, and helping them stand up their own biometric and forensics capabilities. So,
like, what does that even mean? Like, what exactly did you do? Were you protecting the base? Were you actually like a scientist? Like,
yeah, for me, it was more about leadership and management.
Okay.
I had all the techs, the technicians, the latent print examiners, the tactical teams going out on the raids and things. So we were always outside the wire. There was always some shit going on. And, but at the end of the day, we're just trying to catch as many bad people as we can, and build the database of known bad guys, because at the time, fingerprints are something that no one really ever thought about, that you could use as a tool in trying to capture people. Mm-hmm. So we'd be inserted with tactical teams going on raids. We'd fly around and have high level meetings with the top officials in the government of Iraq, and just helping them map out something similar to what we have here in the States. The FBI has a database, the DOD has a database, and they wanted the same thing. That way they could really try to create some type of structure and organization in their own ministries. So like if you're in Iraq and you want to become a police officer, there's a process that you'd have to go through, fingerprint, background check and all that stuff, which they didn't have at the time.
Anyone, yeah, you look good. You're a cop.
Yeah, or it's all about money.
Yeah, you want to be a cop? Here you go.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, I mean, you spent a lot of time in the Middle East. What do you think about just what's going on today with Israel and all that?
I think it's disgusting, honestly. Mm-hmm. I really feel that as America being a powerhouse in the world, when America's weak, the world is weak. Mm. And this is an example of what happens when America has a weak leader. Mm. And I could go into crazy detail about it, but I don't want to get political about things, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
For someone who has served and someone who has sacrificed, to look at the state of our country right now, it's infuriating.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, well, why did everyone do what they did, sacrificing in the name of freedom, to have this nonsense happen right now, which is completely preventable. Like a strong leader in the White House, this would not have happened, that I know.
Yeah. I have talked to a lot of SEALs and people who are active and, out, and, they all say the same thing, like, hey, well, technically we're supposed to be, nonpartisan, right? Or whatever. And he's like, but I'm leaving, and it's not worth it anymore. Like, with just what we're doing. And yeah, to your point, it's like you spend all this time building up the military to be the strongest, military in the world. And then you just kind of like switching gears of, whatever.
We're fat now. The physical fitness standards in the military are decreasing. You can't even say yes, sir, no, sir. It's like we're living in a world that doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how we're expected to have the same impact from a force perspective when we're becoming weak in the area that we should be the strongest. Like the military is the nation's defenders. Yeah. First and foremost. And if we can't even do that, we're not in a good place.
No, those guys need to be your strongest, and I don't want to say ruthless, but just like, these guys will do whatever it takes to protect.
Yeah.
So you end up doing that for over 10 years, and then what?
So in 2009, there was a big transition where we were handing everything back over to the Iraqis to take control. And what was happening was it was becoming a more dangerous place to be work-wise because there was less support, less resources, and things like that. So I remember talking to a colonel who was in charge of Marine Forces North, which is the Marine Corps Component Command for U.S. NORTHCOM, and they're just based out of New Orleans, Louisiana. So we had talked for a while. It wasn't guaranteed, but he's like, I could really use you over here to help stand up this new cell that we're building out, this emergency management, in-transit security, cell. So I was like, I'm in. Took a leap of faith, left Iraq, went to New Orleans, and the job opportunity fell through because the funding was cut. So this crazy transition plan I had, which would put me in the civilian world for the first time as an adult, just completely backfired in my face. And I remember just trying to find work. And the problem is no one can really understand how to read a veteran's resume. So it just kept falling on deaf ears. And
I feel like you have no idea what the things I've done. Yeah, exactly. This job's easy.
Yeah, they don't understand the language and the verbiage and things like that. So I ended up, long story short, I ended up losing everything I had. I was now living in my car. I filed for bankruptcy. My fucking soul was broken, man. Like I couldn't find purpose. And it was in that moment where I really had to dig deep and figure out, all right, well, I could do the coward thing and end my life, or I can do something meaningful.
WealthCon's coming back to Vegas January 8th to the 11th. Now, if you've been to our events, you know how epic they are. We have the best time, not only with just great content, great speakers, but we have a lot of fun with the after parties and the masterminds and everything else. And number one, it's probably the best networking opportunity in the entire game. We have over 1,000 investors and entrepreneurs at each one, and this will be no different. In fact, this is gonna be my favorite WealthCon ever. We've got some amazing speakers coming, people like Tim Tebow, Thach Nguyen, Gabrielle Lyon, the list goes on. It is going to be an epic event, and I want to see you there. So if you're interested in attending, get your tickets now because they will not last. Go to wealthcon.org and get them today.
Everyone knows that my favorite way to build wealth is through real estate investing. That's the reason that I started Wealthy Investor, where we've trained thousands of students. But here's the thing. I've noticed that so many people fail to get started in real estate because they're worried about the money. They don't know where they're going to get the money to buy a house or flip or handle their renovations and things like that. And so they just never get started. I want to change that. And that's why I created a brand new free course that goes over 5 different ways that you could buy houses without using any of your own money today. And I'm going to give you it completely for free. All you have to do is go to wealthyinvestor.com/podcast. I've made it specifically for you. The moment you go to that link,
you'll be able to go get access to it and learn how you can start buying houses today without any of your own money. And if you're somebody who already has a real estate business and who wants to scale, we want to help you too. You can click the link below and book a free strategy call with our team if that's you.
So instead of going back overseas or pulling the trigger on myself, I decided to get certified as a personal trainer because everyone was like, dude, do fitness. You love fitness. Everyone knows you for fitness. So I did it. And then within, a few months, I met Zac Efron doing a movie called The Lucky One, which was about a Marine Iraq veteran. And we just hit it off, and that was my entrance into film and TV.
So were you responsible for when he was all super jacked and Baywatch and stuff?
So from Lucky One all the way up until Baywatch.
Yeah.
That was our time gap working together.
Yeah.
When you're getting into the higher echelon of transformations in Hollywood, for me, I don't have enough trust in them to be doing things on that level where you're dealing with hormones and things. So
yeah.
It just wasn't something where I continued on with that journey.
Yeah. Yeah, he got so big. It's funny because, like, you'll see, like, I don't know, guys like him and The Rock who are like, yeah, just eat chicken and rice. And I'm like, bro, there's way more than chicken and rice going in your body than I don't know what you're talking about. But I guess, for PR reasons, they got to say whatever they got to say.
Well, too, in their defense, in the Hollywood actor defense, sometimes I feel like there's a need for some type of performance enhancing supplements or drugs, whatever you want to call them, because if you're coming from a movie where you've got to be fat, out of shape, looking like dog shit, and then all of a sudden your next movie you've got to be this superhero.
Yeah.
It's like you can't
change that fast.
You can't. And depending on scheduling, whatever you have lined up down the road, there might be a 3 or 4 month block here. It's like, yeah, I can fit that movie in. Finding the right trainer. I mean, it's pretty extreme these days with how much fitness is coming into the forefront of film and TV.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people will be like, oh, it's just drugs or whatever. But for them to make that kind of transformation in such a short period of time, I don't care what drugs you're on.
Yeah.
You have to be so disciplined.
Yep. And that's the thing right there. People think about the drugs and they're like, it's a cop out, you're fake, but
no, dude.
It just allows you to work harder.
Yeah.
And
I recently
faster.
got on peptides and testosterone, and it's like, I've seen the difference. I'm like, oh, okay. But by no means do I have the discipline that these guys, I could. If you told me, hey, dude, you're about to go star in this movie, they're going to pay you $10 million. You just got to get super rich. I'd be like, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Get rid of everything in my pantry. I'm going hard. And I'll be like, I'm going to get Aaron, and we're going hard.
Hell
like,
yeah.
I'd have no problem doing it. But I do know the level of commitment those guys. I mean, how often was Zach working out?
Oh, every day. Yeah, I mean, and it's all blocked too, right? It's like you're just one component of their day. There's stunt training, there's physical fitness, there's, acting coaching, then you got blocking, and depending on the nature, maybe you're speaking another language, you got to have an accent, then you got your dialect coach.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Do the studios like provide all that for them, or they got to figure it out?
No, everything will be mapped out. Like
Okay.
when they come in, when they sign on to a production, they'll figure out, all right, what does he need? Obviously, when you're auditioning for a character, they're going to try and find the person who, one, fits the director's look the best, like whatever the director has in his mind, but two, who's going to be the most qualified for it. So it's like they're not going to. You could have two people that look exactly the same, but they're always going to go more towards the one who maybe can have that, already has a little bit of an accent, or someone who just leans more in that direction.
Yeah. I just saw does a guy like Zac Efron even have to like audition anymore?
Not really.
They're just like, hey, we want you. What's it going to cost?
When you're at that level, they've seen your body of work. They know what you can do.
Yeah.
So yeah, you pretty much have bypassed the whole audition process by then.
I saw recently they finally ended the strike.
Yeah.
So it's like these guys are finally going to get back to work now.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. For 6 months, like these actors and writers just couldn't work.
It's really crazy. And honestly, man, it's all about money and greed.
Yeah.
Like Hollywood is just about the most superficial place that you can possibly be.
Yeah. Is it really the way that, people talk about with like just all the evil stuff behind the scenes and just the craziness?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have crazy stories of, and I could completely, punk people out and have headlines all over the place. That's just not me, and I don't want to be known to be that guy.
Yeah.
But I've been propositioned so many times by men and women at the highest level.
That's crazy.
It's really disgusting, and it's one of those things where you see a lot of these actors who are very big names, and they end up killing themselves and overdosing and alcoholics. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with how they got to where they were, because I've been in a position where I could be on the A list right now, but I would have had to have sold my soul.
Yeah.
This lady wanted to marry me. She had a check cut for me. I was traveling all over the place doing work for this production company. And when it all came together, it was like, you okay with marriage? I'm like, what? Okay. That just, I mean, it's comical. It's nonsensical.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sad, but, it seems a lot of that stuff is coming to light now, and it's not, I mean, it'll be curious to see how it plays out the next, 20 years, especially now, because Hollywood's not the only game in town, right? It's like, man, right now we're just going to go do this on YouTube. And it's like these YouTubers have more fame than a lot of these A-list celebrities, the podcasters, I guess streaming sometimes is in Hollywood, but with all these streaming platforms now, it's not just the big box anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. You see a lot of these celebrities now getting on commercials for soap and doing these collaborations with these YouTube influencers and these social media influencers and stuff. So it just shows the power of where influencers are these days compared to what Hollywood was.
If you're watching this show, my guess is you're probably an entrepreneur who's trying to grow your business. And for me, the best thing I ever did to grow my business was build my personal brand on social media. It's allowed me to get more revenue, it's allowed me to raise more capital, and it's allowed me to hire better talent. And if you are not currently creating content for your brand, you're missing out, and your competition is. So if you want to learn to grow, my advice is to create a podcast. Now, there's a lot that goes into building a podcast and why I believe it's the best way. So I've actually created a free training that I want you to go check out. If you go to pinedamedia.com/podcast, you can go access the free training right now and see how a podcast is going to be the best decision to grow your personal brand today. So go check it out by clicking the link below, and I'll see you in the training.
Hollywood still does have control of, being people who our youth look up to.
Right.
That's the part I have a hard time with, because what that represents is not, I don't think, is the healthiest thing for our kids to look up to.
Yeah. So is that why you ended up leaving Hollywood?
Yeah, partially. I mean, when COVID hit and the industry shut down, it was at that point I realized, man, everything that I was doing relied on my work in Hollywood. And I right then I was like, I never want to be in this position again. I never want to have to rely on this industry again, because when everything was shut down, you learned a lot about who was really in your corner, who was there for you, who were your true friends, and there was a lot of bad stuff that happened. And what I kept seeing was a lot of these names who I knew and I had respect for come out talking in a way that I can no longer respect them. And I think there was a lot of people's true colors came out during 2020, through 2021. And that's when I was like, I'm going to take everything that I've done, I'm going to launch my own fitness business, and I'm going to start this new journey myself. So 2022, I pretty much buried myself in my office and just really got deep into building an online fitness coaching business. I took my knowledge of transforming people from a bodybuilding perspective. And then ironically, I started to have people with autoimmune issues come to me for help. So it made me go down some different rabbit holes and understanding the human biology more. So I learned so much about health and longevity, and I just combined the two worlds, which is what makes our programming so effective, and why I can do these transformations in such a short amount of time, given the people we're working with are disciplined and committed enough to follow the process.
Mm-hmm. So you start this online business, and you're living here in Vegas at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And how different was that transition, having to learn how to like become a marketer?
Yeah.
Because you already knew how to be a coach. That part's easy.
Yeah, it was a lot. I actually had to get a fitness coach who's
Which one? I know a bunch of them.
You know Vince Del Monte?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got with Vince. I was doing his thing for a while.
I saw him actually at Dragon's Lair. That's where he met.
Yeah.
He was like, "Hey, dude, what's up, man? I gotta," and he actually had all of his students there. They were there for like it was some fitness like expo thing.
Okay.
So there was like 100 of them in the Dragon's Lair.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a great dude. He's got a solid mindset for helping people change their perspective on how to scale and just help people step out of their comfort zone a little bit in terms of getting in front of the camera and really leveraging social media, because that's what it's about. If no one knows who you are, how are you going to get clients?
Exactly. I mean, you have to learn how to market. That's what you didn't know yet.
That was the biggest thing for me, because I'm not a social media guy. I'm still trying to do everything it takes to get into the social media world.
Yeah.
But that was the hardest part I had that he helped coach me through, was just getting out there and just talking and letting people know what you're good at, getting testimonials. Just there's a lot of little nuances that make a massive difference when you're an online coach, because it's such a saturated space.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it turned out great. I mean, I get people off of meds in 90 days. You
Wow.
can be on something. You can be on meds for 10 or 15 years. Within 90 days, most of the clients, almost all of them, will be off.
Why do you think that is? Like they weren't healthy, and meds were just kind of like a Band-Aid to the problem. They weren't like addressing the root cause.
Yeah, it's like a botanist or an arborist, right? If you have a plant or a tree or something that's got leaves that are dying or bark that's dying or something's going wrong with it, you don't just snip it off and move on. You go into the root, into the soil. You find out what the root cause of the problem is, and then you address that, and then everything else flourishes. But for some reason, we all know why, we don't do that as human beings. We just get put on medicine for the symptom, but we're not trying to really understand the root cause of it. So we're diagnosed with things we don't really have, put on medications we don't really need.
Yeah.
Once you get on one medication, you're going to be on two, then three, and who knows, your quality of life starts to really take a hit. So for me, the health and longevity space is really important, because it's telling people the right way to eat, which is counterintuitive to what society will tell you to eat.
Yeah.
I say eat red meat. Red meat's a superfood. Whole eggs, Greek yogurt, mixed berries, fruit, salmon, chicken, quality foods, rather than eating stuff out of wrappers. And if you look at the ingredients and you can't pronounce something or you don't know what it is, it's probably not good to eat.
Yeah.
But I take everyone through a 2-week detox just through food. And then we get into fasting and different health and longevity protocols with hot and cold therapy and breathing, oxygen. There's methylation issues and hypoxia and high homocysteine. There's so many little things that make a massive difference, that if you just eat the right foods and take some very basic, simple supplements, it clears right up. And then obviously movement is medicine. Move as much as you can.
Right. Yeah, like today, I don't get sick very often, but I woke up yesterday a little under the weather. Today I'm like, I don't feel 100%, but I'm good enough to be here, right? And I worked out this morning. I woke up early. I was like, hey, dude, my body feels terrible, but I know if I just move and even if I'm not lifting a bunch of weight, just moving around, that's going to make me feel way better than just laying in bed all day.
Yep.
So I agree with that for sure.
Yeah, and challenging yourself. I think we're in this state right now where everyone's pursuing comfort, and we want everything to feel good. We want everything to taste good, and there's no stimulus for growth in that. So when you put yourself in these challenging positions of getting into a cold bath or getting into a hot sauna, or going against the grain of wanting to eat the normal garbage of sugar and things that you've got that receptor on your tongue to give you that dopamine hit that gets you addicted. If you put some food to your mouth, think about it, if it's going to serve you or if it's going to make things worse. You know what I mean? If it's going to serve or steal from you. And
is it actually fuel, or is it entertainment, really?
Right. Yeah. And I don't know if Renee talked about it when he was on this podcast, but Renee had, because he's such a great speaker, when I got him into fasting, I think it was his 3rd or 4th fast. it was like this aha light bulb moment. And
Yeah.
he explains it so beautifully of just how much our day to day revolves around food. I mean, we go open the fridge and aimlessly walk around looking for things to eat when we're not even hungry.
Yeah.
So it's being able to have that type of impact on someone like that he can share it out. I talk about creating an army of soldiers for health because we need it now more than ever, and that's the purpose of everything I'm doing right now. It's the big reason why I left Hollywood and aligned with Andy with what he's doing, because health is the foundation of everything, no matter what your profession is, what your gender is. Like, it transcends everything. So when you can really have a foundation of health and you start to really think about everything from that place, your life changes, I mean, almost overnight.
100%. I tell people all the time, like, look, if you're out of shape and everything, like, you're just not going to beat me. Like, it is what it is. How can you have the mental clarity or the physical stamina or the confidence to go out there? And, like, health helps all three of those things, right? Yep. And yeah, I think a lot of people just they look for other answers, right? They're like, but you know, that would be a lot of work to go work out and start waking up earlier and eat right and stuff. There's got to be another way. And so they look for like the next hack. And it's like, dude, there's no hack. It's just hard work.
Yeah. We get people who come into our program who have program hopped for years.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, they're always,
it's not my fault.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And they're always trying to find the most simple thing, but fitness is something you can't buy. You know what I mean? Like, you can buy a program, but you still have to put in the work. Yeah. No one can
Even if
do it for you.
You know, I've talked to a lot of guys now who are like, oh yeah, I'm on testosterone. And I'm like, really? Like, I can't tell. Right. Because it's like, dude, it ain't gonna do anything if you don't put any work into it. Yeah. Right? It's just gonna enhance what you already do.
That skewed mindset of just thinking that if you get on something like that, it's gonna be the end all be all.
Yeah.
And actually it can be worse. Because if you're not doing anything with it and you're eating the bad foods, estrogen is a I mean, it'll tear you up. It'll make you look like, you know, you should be on 600-pound life. Yeah. I mean, just the accumulation of inflammation and water retention, and if you're doing anything to mess around with your endocrine system, your hormones, you've got to be dialed in. Yeah. You have to. Mm-hmm.
So what's your take on fasting? I know you mentioned it a few times. Like, what do you put people through?
Yeah, I love fasting. I call fasting the fountain of youth.
Yeah, because I love it too.
It's so good for, one, a gut reset. Like, your body needs to reset sometimes, and it's the best way to do it. If you're eating food all day long, all the energy you have is going towards digesting. It's like you eat, then you're digesting food, then you eat, then you're digesting food, and it's the whole day, every day. That's what your body's going through. So I say, you know, it's a good chance to take all that digesting away, and then all of a sudden the body has all this energy freely to use now. And what's it going to do is it's going to go through and find all the issues and the problem areas and try and fix itself. It's going to eat itself. It's going to get rid of the old cells. It's like if you have 100 employees and 25 of them are shit and you want to get rid of them, it's the same thing. Like, let's just say you have dead cells or suboptimal cells in your body that need repair or replace. It's like that's when that whole process of autophagy can come through and get rid of all those and leave room for the new cells, and then you feel better. You know, you've got the IGF-1 increase, you've got nutrient partitioning, you've got increased nutrient absorption. Like, there's so many great benefits to fasting.
So how long do you put people, like, how long will you tell them to do it for? Do you do intermittent fasting, or do you do long fast? What do you do?
I just like to have them do a 24-hour fast once a week. And some of my clients have a good hack where they'll do it from noon to noon. So it's like
they're still not really missing a day of eating.
Yeah, you're still eating on both days. You got that big gap of time where you're sleeping. Yep. But it's at the beginning, everyone's kind of unsure about it because they have these preconceived notions about
they're going to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I don't eat for a day, I'm going to die.
And you hear the horror stories of people feeling all, you know, weird stuff. But it's like, if you think about it, all the things that we accumulate over the course of day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, that toxicity gets stored in your body, specifically in your body fat, seed oils, you know, let's just say heavy metals, like all this stuff, the pesticides. Yep. And you just have like this slow drip that goes on. And if your body's really toxic, maybe when you get into the first couple fasts, you're going to feel some nausea or things like that because your body's releasing some of this trash.
Yeah.
But on the other side, electrolytes are very important that I think a lot of people miss. So getting electrolytes in during your fast is a really important thing.
I started fasting every quarter for 3 to 5 days. So I would do like an ultra long fast.
Yeah.
And I have tried the once a week too. I like them both. And I like it for spiritual reasons. I like it for health reasons. And everyone should fast. I mean,
I agree.
Everyone is looking for the next diet. Like, what's the keto diet, the Atkins diet? I'm like, you want to know the number one way to lose weight? Don't eat. That's the number one way to lose weight. You have no calories going in. You will lose weight.
Yep.
It's just math.
Yeah. It's a really true thing. And the longer fast too, I mean, depending on the level of, let's just say, metabolic dysfunction you have, some longer fasts might actually be better. But to your point also with the spiritual part of it, I know a lot of people who do these 3, 5, 7 day fasts for the spiritual part.
Yeah.
And you get into a different realm or a different way of thinking and understanding things because your brain is so much more clear.
Yeah.
It's a detox of your brain too. That lymphatic system is actually being cleansed to where you can think more clearly. You're more focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. You know, I've been researching a lot lately in the last like year and a half about toxicity and, peptides and testosterone and your gut and all these things we're talking about because, I'm getting older now. I'm in my mid-30s and my son, he's got special needs. And so we've taken him to different functional doctors and things over the years. And they've all said the same thing. They're like, he's got metals in his body. He's got toxicity. And then like I had a guy recently tell me about like how for COVID, like they're finding venoms in all of these patients who have COVID. And it's like, how did like 19 different venoms get in their body? It's crazy. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. And so there's like, and then I was watching this documentary about how there's all these drugs that use venom to treat some kind of thing, right? They're using snake venom and shellfish venom and all this. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And like, I don't know. I ain't a doctor, but when you start seeing like the pesticides, like you said, and all this stuff, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of toxicity in our body. And, I had some people recommend my son do like, I think it's called Ion Biome. Mm-hmm. So we're going to try out that. And Gary Brecka actually recommended he do stem cells. And so we did stem cells, and that actually was a huge improvement energy-wise and like everything for him. So, yeah, I'm like heavy into all this stuff. I don't take anything at face value anymore.
Yeah, our food system here is incredibly poisonous.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first got into Hollywood, before I really knew much about how bad our food was, I remember a lot of my international clients, coming in from, Italy or Spain or things like that. And they would just talk about how much they hated eating our food because of the way it made them feel. Mm. And I never...
They could feel the difference.
Yeah, but just because of how loaded with pesticides it was or the whole enriched fortified thing with folic acid and all these really strange things that you don't ever really think about, where now people are actually thinking about it more. But it's like, I can eat a pizza here and I'll feel like shit afterwards. I'll go over to Italy, eat the same pizza and feel fine, probably lose weight.
Yeah, I actually do remember one of the functional doctors talking about folic acid. He's like, he told me the story of how it started, and he's like, there's no reason for folic acid. Like, it has no purpose, yet we put it in all this food.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's fortified or enriched, throw it out.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of people feed their kids in the morning, and then they're bouncing off the walls, acting like little, psycho ninjas.
So, yeah, I agree. So what do you recommend then to your clients? Like, what are they eating? Like, are you putting them on macro diets? Like, how's that?
So the way I do my nutrition programs initially up front are, I lay it out almost like you're going to get on stage to compete. You see the percentages of macros, meal totals, daily totals, percentages. And the reason why I do that is because I really want my clients to understand the structure of a meal. What does a meal really look like? What does the right portion size for me actually look like? Because if I can put it in a way where you consistently are measuring your food, then it's going to start to become second nature of what your portion sizes should look like. Because that's the big problem we have here in America is we eat for like 3 people. I mean, if you go to places in Europe and you get these meals and you look at them, you're like, what is that, an appetizer? But it's like that's the way you should be eating, because calories can add up quick depending on how much fat you have in it and what additives are in it. So I like to do that type of programming, but through the best quality foods. And then getting deeper into it, I have a substitution food menu that I end up sending on as an addition after the first 2 weeks of detox that really help you stay within the realm of methylated foods, right? Because methylation is really one of the biggest issues that we have across the board is when it comes to us eating foods and thinking that it's good, but we're not absorbing the nutrients and things like that. So, and that's based on certain nutrients that we're so deficient in that affects methylation.
What is methylation for those who don't know?
It's your body's ability to absorb nutrients. Let's just say, I use Gary Brecka's term because it makes the most sense. If you can't put crude oil into your gas tank, it's got to be refined and converted into gasoline for you to use it. If you eat a steak, if you eat red meat, you know it's loaded with vitamins in it, but it's got to be converted so your body can absorb those nutrients. And when you have a methylation issue, there's a break in the chain there that it prevents your body from being able to break that down so it can absorb those nutrients.
Okay, got it. So with that, for me anyways, I'll use myself. I was about 180 pounds for 12 years. And for the first time ever, I've decided like I'm going to bulk up. And so in about 90 days, I went from 180 to 195. And I'm like loosely tracking my macros, but I'm definitely eating way more. I mean, I'm eating I used to eat maybe 2,000 calories a day for maintenance, and now I'm eating like 2,800 to 3,000 a day, just trying to put on size and everything.
You feel better eating that increase of calories?
Not really, no.
No?
No, I don't like to eat. I mean,
okay.
Yeah. For me, I used to always eat a very low carb diet. So I would just eat meat and veggies, and at dinner would probably be the only time I ate carbs. And that was just kind of how I did maintenance. And now I'm eating a lot of carbs. And I shouldn't say I don't like it. I don't mind it. Now I'm used to it. But it was hard at first. I'm like, dude, I'm eating so much food.
Yeah.
But now I'm used to it.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that a lot of people really don't know is that they're under eating. It's like they're trying to put weight on, they're trying to get body recomposition, and it's not working because you're not eating enough. I mean, I have women who are eating, 2,000 calorie nutrition programs and it end up being over 2,000 calories. And for most people, they think 2,000 calories as the limit. Like, I can't eat over 2,000 calories. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But it's really not a lot of food, especially when you're active and you're moving and you're training and you have to have all this energy. The nutrition dictates everything. People ask me about what supplements do I take? How do I train? I'm like, well, why don't you ask the more important question of what am I eating?
The food is more important.
The food is always more important. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So with food, if somebody was trying to gain weight, I guess everyone's going to be different though. So for me, would you recommend kind of that diet I'm on?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I like to say if you're trying to put weight on, and obviously there's some variances that come into it depending on if I look at your body and I'm like, well, based on a questionnaire, looking at you, I can tell, I think carbs would fit you better.
Okay.
Protein's always going to be the foundation of every meal. Mm-hmm. That's your muscle recovery, muscle building, muscle everything.
Yeah.
And then you got your energy source, which is either carbs or fats. You always want to have them offset.
Yeah.
So if carbs are high, fats are low. If fats are high, carbs are low.
Can't be both high.
Can't be both high. And some people I find, most people actually, when they're trying to put weight on, I find carbohydrates being a better option. So I'll bring fats down, maybe even bring protein down a little bit. If someone's trying to lose body fat, then I'll bring carbs down, bring fats up, and bring protein up. But again, like you said, everyone is different based on their lifestyle, I have a really extensive questionnaire that I ask my clients that when they fill that out, that gives me a good snapshot so I can build the nutrition program out that will best suit them.
Yeah. So when people come to you, are you setting like a 90-day plan? Like, how's that work?
So when I came over to the Elliot Group, what I did was I sat down with my team, my coaches, and we they're super smart guys. And I took my brain and connected it with their brain, and we just sat down for a couple months, and we just started building out these new programs. And we have a goal-based program, which is like $597 for 90 days.
Yep.
Which when you come out into that, it's not customized, but it's been created by me. So it's like I've been doing this for so long that I know what works. So when a person comes on and they're like, I want to do this 597 90-day Catalyst program.
Yeah.
They fill out some information on there, and based on that, we know where to put them at.
Yeah.
And then we have a customized program that's, $5,000 for 90 days. And that's where we actually sit down on a Zoom call with you and really get to know you and build your
lifestyle and what's going to work for you.
And then that's where we build it off of that. And then we have weekly calls.
Accountability.
Yeah. Accountability, funny enough, man, is like everyone needs it. And that's probably the biggest reason I hear when people come on to our program or just programs in general is I need the accountability. I get it, but at the same time, like, do you not have enough discipline to just be able to hold yourself accountable to being in better shape?
People no.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to the fact that we're just so addicted to food.
Yeah.
And we're so challenged by doing things that are difficult. Where me, it's like I love doing the hard shit. I love doing the stuff that makes me suffer and creates pain. Like when I go into the gym, I'm trying to kill myself.
Yeah.
Like I literally want to go in there and cause as much damage on myself as I possibly can, because it's a mental aspect too of growing and knowing I can push myself this hard, and then I can see what it did to my body too.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I think what we do when we're going out talking at these seminars and things are really trying to wake people up. And, it's like no one wants to go on this journey with you, but I do. And I believe in you so much that if you just take that leap of faith, spend the 90 days with me, I guarantee you'll come out of it where your life will be changed forever. Like all I need is 90 days of commitment from someone to help them recreate their belief system, to know that what they want is actually within reach.
Yeah, and $595 is nothing for that.
Nothing.
So tell me about Andy's transformation, because Andy, in the last 6 months since you started working with him, has undergone his own transformation. And he was already in shape before that, right? Like he didn't technically need you, yet he's now at a whole nother level.
Yeah. And funny enough, the transformation that we've done has been done pretty much traveling every single week.
Yeah.
Which is extremely difficult.
For sure.
Anyone who travels, it's like
you don't know where your gym is, getting food's hard.
All that, yeah. Sleep. But for him, he loves fitness. He's kind of got that meathead mindset. Like he could go in there and just.
I think sales guys are naturally meatheads.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's like that's we talk the same language, and just to know you have someone who's willing to be pushed to their limit, no matter how hard it hurts or how bad or painful it is, who will have the discipline to eat the meals that are prepped. And so that the biggest shift for Andy, honestly, was really two things. That's one, the importance of food. It's like he always knew the importance of food, but he never had anyone really map it out in the way I do. And there's been a lot of these light bulb moments for him when it comes to food, where it's like I travel with him so much and I see him, I'm like, don't pick it up, man. Like I'm watching you.
Yeah.
And but also in the gym, really changing the training style. And when you walk into a gym, typically you see people mindlessly moving weight. There'll be the same people in there right now who were in there 3 years ago doing the same thing and look exactly the same because there's no intention behind what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I get into the type of training where I say, I refer to what I do as explaining the anatomy of a rep, and it's time under tension controlled. So when you're so focused on every rep of every set and you create that mind muscle connection, it's hard to go back to training any other way because you don't feel the contraction in the muscle the way you do otherwise, right? So if you have, let's just say, a bicep curl, if you have the concentric, right, this is usually the explosive part, and then you get to the top and you contract, and then you focus on the negative, and the negative is where people miss so much of the exercise. So just by doing that one rep, you got 3 things to think about.
Yeah.
Every single rep. So you really change your mindset of training, and you come in there with intensity, and when you are detoxed and you get rid of all the inflammation in your body, you'll actually feel your muscles contract differently. You could be detoxed, you could be clean inside, go out and have a shitty day of eating. You know, maybe you had burgers and pasta and all kinds of nonsense. When you go into the gym the next day, I guarantee you'll probably feel somewhat of a difference in the way your muscles feel in the contraction.
You know, I was reading a book, this was many years ago, called 4 Hour Body by Tim Ferriss. And I remember he pulled that study, somebody did it a long time ago, time under tension. And he was basically like, look, this is the best way to work out. You know, 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. He was like, if you just did 1 set of that, it's more powerful than doing, you know, your 3 sets of just, you know, mindlessly doing it.
Yeah.
But then, like, at the same time, growing up as an athlete, we hear the opposite, right? They're like, hey, you got to have fast twitch. We got to work on your explosiveness and your speed and everything. And so I was always like, you know, I don't know.
Well, that's where you have different styles of training.
Right.
Athletics are going to be a lot different.
We're not bodybuilders.
Yeah. Like athletes, football players, things like that, where it's all about power and movement and speed. That type of training is going to be completely different than someone who's trying to really have body recomposition, who's a bodybuilder style of training that's trying to shape and sculpt and things. That's where the time under tension is so valuable.
Basically, that's going to get you huge. But the stuff I've been doing is going to keep me lean and explosive.
Yeah.
What would you say I should do? Because, like, I still, like, am pursuing golf and trying to be great at it. I don't think I'll, you know, have the flexibility and the agility if I just get all huge.
Well, that's the thing, right? So I like to do Metcon stuff as much as possible. So there can be a different variety of training. I mean, honestly, you could probably get away with doing 3 really solid hypertrophy days a week. And
what is that?
Hypertrophy, let's just say legs, push, pull. So you're hitting your whole body in 3 sessions.
Got it.
And then maybe add in some type of agility training that will help keep you limber and loose, whether it's golf or football or sprinting or whatever the case may be. And
right.
So that way you're staying optimal with flexibility and deep tissue work, stretching. If you really create a program based around the goal, you could create the right program that would make you a savage golf player.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to have to just get freaking... What do you think I should weigh? Like, what do you think? I'm 195 right now. You know, I'm definitely not super lean. Like, I definitely have a lot of fat to lose, but I'm kind of bulking right now. Do you believe that you have to bulk first and then cut? Or no?
No.
You think it just all happens simultaneously?
Yeah, I think if you just do everything right, that body recomposition just will put you in a place where it naturally kind of happens. And I'm an old school guy. Like we're so deep into technology and science and stuff now, which I think is great because it really gives you some solid evidence that you can pull from. But for me, I'm a old school, look in the mirror, see how your clothes fit.
Yeah.
Beating the log book in the gym, you know, writing with pen and pencil, or maybe today on a program using an app.
Yep.
And I think that's really, in my opinion, the best marker because every body is so different. Like your body's not like mine, like his. I mean, we're all doing something different. But yeah, I mean, we'll talk after, man. Maybe I can.
Yeah.
help you out.
I'm just open to all new ideas. That's the thing, man, is I love hearing these different perspectives, especially on health, because I talk a lot about business and I get business guys in and we talk business, and I'm always open to new business ideas too. I'm like, oh, you're marketing that way. Oh, you're running your sales team that way. Oh, you're creating an offer or product that way. Interesting. And then the health side is just so, like, I want to say unknown.
Yeah.
Because everyone has so many theories on it, right? Everybody's a strong believer in like one method. And then, you know, they're opposites, right? Somebody's like, dude, carnivore, it's the best. And then somebody's like, no, you got to be a vegan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, there's no way the vegan's right. There's just no way.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think in this day and age where we are right now too, everyone's trying to figure out how to capitalize on something. So it's like everyone's taking the basics or the foundation of something and really trying to put a spin on it where they can kind of create their own little niche.
Yeah.
And what happens in doing that is you complicate everything so much that we create the problem that exists right now where it's like, if you're trying to start, like, let's just say you're trying to start your health journey and you go online and you're just trying to read, you'll read one thing that says do this. And then the next article will say not to do everything you just read.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
And that's why most people give up. They're like, well, I don't even know what to do. And then they don't
know what's true.
Yeah. They don't know who to look for because they see online coaches now as they're just trying to get my money.
Yeah.
So it's a really precarious place that we're in because really at the end of the day, nothing's going to beat the foundational stuff. Nothing's going to beat resistance training, free weights, nothing. And it's very basic, and it's very basic with the food, and it's very basic with the supplements.
Yeah.
And if you stay within that realm of keeping things simple and basic, that's really all you need.
Yeah.
But simple and basic is boring.
Yeah.
And people will need more than the basics to keep themselves interested in things like that. And that's why I'm like, well, you really have to embrace what you're trying to do, find a good playlist, find some good music, find some things that gives you perspective to what you're trying to do. That way the mundane, the boring aspect of what fitness really is, because it's the repetition of doing things day in and day out that over time give you the ultimate results. And most people just don't have the patience. They want it now. And then that's when you have the program hopping and it's like, yeah, I just did this program and it sucked and it didn't work. And I'm like, how long did you do it for? And they're like, well, I almost did 3 weeks.
Man, I didn't lose 20 pounds in 3 weeks. I don't know what happened. Yeah. So you mentioned supplements and we've kind of already talked a lot about it. For me, I'll just give you my background. You know, when I was playing, all I really did was pre-workout. You know, like I didn't have any supplements really beyond that. I would take like creatine here or there. And then once I got done playing, and actually I still didn't even do anything really for a long time. It was just like pre-workout, protein, powder. Now, in the last 3 months, I've gone down this journey of testosterone and hormones and peptides and all this stuff. And it's definitely crazy. But like you said, you better be dialed in because it can mess you up if you just start taking all this stuff. So like when people come in, what are you really prescribing them supplement wise?
We like to keep everything as basic as possible, at least in the short term up front, because most of the time it takes you to detox all the garbage out of your body before you can really understand where you are. And one of the very important things that we like to highly recommend, is to get blood work done. Because blood work will tell you so much about what's happening internally. And when you don't have that reference point of blood work, and let's just say you spend 2, 4, 6 weeks dumping everything you have into a program and you don't see any results, it's discouraging. And it could have been something as simple as, you know, maybe there's some thyroid supplementation, or maybe your testosterone was bottomed out. Yeah. There's a lot of little things that could have been addressed at the beginning. Therefore, these next 4 or 6 weeks would have been much more beneficial. But a lot of some of the basic things that we like to recommend are magnesium. Magnesium is something that most people are deficient in. There's so many different physiological functions that magnesium is involved in. specifically with sleep at night.
I've been taking ZMA for a long time. I forgot.
Yeah.
I do take ZMA.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man, where like 400-600 milligrams of magnesium glycinate with your last meal before you go to bed. A lot of times, people who have issue with sleeping, something as simple as that can just solve it all. Vitamin D3 is a hugely important one because we don't get enough sun these days.
Yep.
We're not getting enough from food, so there's an importance of supplementing with that. And then I like to really recommend electrolytes to people because we're so depleted. We're not drinking much water. It's like some people just have this phobia to drinking plain water, which you don't have to drink plain water. But if you can drink something maybe has a little bit of flavor, some good electrolytes, you're better hydrated. Your body can utilize that hydration aspect, much more efficiently without feeling like you've got to drink 2 gallons a day.
Yeah, I'm going to buy some electrolytes because I drink a lot of water. But right now, since I'm not feeling great, I'm just trying to like pound water and it's just flush everything out of my system.
Yeah, you ever heard of Element? LMNT? They're like, I have my clients use those when they're fasting. They're higher in sodium. So when you first drink them, you can taste the sodium in there. It's got 1,000 milligrams of sodium per packet, but some great flavors in there, some weird flavors like chocolate and
chocolate water.
Yeah,
I don't know about that one.
It's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, I thought the same thing, but when I tried it was surprisingly good.
Well, you know what? I drink chocolate protein powder, so I can't imagine it's worse.
It's like that, but without the sweetness to it.
Oh,
which might sound weird, but I promise it's good.
All right, you just buy them on Amazon? All right,
yeah,
I'll try some of those. Okay, so D3. So like when I never got tested. I never got a blood test until last year. That was my first time doing it. And at the time, my testosterone was like 300. And they're like, that's at the bottom end of range, but it's not low. I was like, okay, so what do I do?
That's low.
Yeah. And I was like, it's weird because I felt fine. I slept well. Obviously, I was lifting heavy weights and, performing every day. Like I didn't feel like, it was low. And then I did research. And I'm like, all right, well, let's try and enhance it. So I got on all these like just Amazon supplements because I didn't want to do anything crazy yet. And so I did like boron. What else did I do? Ashwagandha, pregnenolone, multivitamin.
Did you do Tribulus?
No. I did tart cherry.
Yep.
What else did I do? Actually, vitamin K and D. I think it's vitamin K and D.
Yeah.
They come together.
The vitamin K2 helps the D absorption.
Yeah. And then maybe like 2 other ones. So yeah, I started doing that stuff. And that raised it from like 300 to 500.
Yeah.
And then
simple stuff.
Yeah. And so that was like, less than $100 a month of supplements. And then the doc was like, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like that's going to be what it is, doing that. And so I was like, well, that sucks. And then he's like, you could try TRT. And I was like, well, I don't really want to do that. And he's like, well, let's just try you on Clomid first. And so I tried Clomid for a couple of months, and it was whatever. Like I didn't really feel any different. My testosterone went to 800, but it wasn't like, I really didn't feel any different. And then finally, I was like, all right, let's just do it. I'm just going to give in and do this. And so I did it. And I've not been tested since yet, but I'm really curious to see what it is. Because that I did feel, I was like, whoa, this is different.
You got on it when you were sitting at 800?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're probably like, I don't know how much you're doing, but I'd say if you were at 800 and got on it, you're probably like sitting at 1,100, 1,200.
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's on the upper end right there. But yeah, all the simple, again, depending on the toxicity of your body. I mean, a lot of times just losing body fat. Let's just say losing 5% body fat. I mean, you can raise your testosterone 200 points possibly.
Yeah, and what's crazy is doing this for the first time, like I've actually gained weight and lost body fat. Like that's been a new thing that's never happened.
Yeah. So that right there is body recomposition at its finest.
Yeah. So that's been new for me. And I definitely think these two things are correlated, but like the last 2 months, I've been just like a hawk in the business, like revamping everything and like very clear and like don't want to say aggressive, but I'm much more maybe motivated and like ready to just crush. And I'm like, hey, this is what we're doing. No longer are we going to accept these weak standards. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Higher testosterone would definitely do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes too, there's the thought of, depending on your age, like if you get on TRT, like in your 40s, I think it's probably one of those things where more than likely it'll be a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
But, again, let's just say your testosterone is just on the bottom end.
Yeah.
Then you can actually go through some different protocols to, get on a cycle, get off, stimulate your own body's production back up, and where TRT can be a temporary thing. So there's some different ways to approach it depending on your lifestyle and what your ultimate goal is.
This is what I told somebody on the podcast, because they were like, yeah, I heard that you got to stay on it the rest of your life. And I was like, yeah, I heard that too. And I said, logically, I started to think about it. And that was why I never did it for a long time. And I started to think about it logically. And I said, what am I on the rest of my life anyway? I was like, well, I got to eat 200 grams of protein every day.
Yeah.
I got to work out. I got to drink a lot of water. I got to, like eat the right macros. I got to still eat all the supplements and everything I'm doing anyways. I'm like, what is one other thing that I'm on anyways? Like,
are you doing like one shot a week, or are you microdosing?
I'm doing 2 a week, like 50.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like 1 milliliter. I don't even know.
Yeah, one milliliter, 1C.
Yeah, 1C a week.
Yeah,
but it's split.
Yeah, because one of the interesting things that a lot of people don't know about is microdosing testosterone too, where you can do, like, let's just say 0.3 every third day, and it actually helps with estrogen regulation too. It's more injections, but you can actually do it in a much smaller needle, subcutaneously, instead of intramuscular.
Yep.
And your blood plasma levels just kind of stay more level.
Yeah, what's funny is the first time I did it, I had like that massive needle, and I did it in my arm. Dude, it hurt so bad. My arm was sore for like a week. I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And they're like, dude, you could do it in your butt. And so like that was better. And then somebody told me that. They were like, hey, you could like have a way smaller needle.
Yeah.
If you just do it this way. And I was like, thank you for telling me that, because, dude, that normal needle is scary, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And plus too, the more you do that, the more scar tissue you're going to end up having.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. Just think about if you're basically puncturing the skin, going through the muscle with a needle, injecting a volume of fluid. And if you keep doing it in the same spot over time, unless you're constantly getting some deep tissue work or scraping, grafting, things are going to break those adhesions up. You'll end up getting scar tissue there. And a lot of times that can end up being a knot.
Okay.
You'll have like a lump.
Yep.
So you want to try and avoid all that. So like sub-Q microdosing you can do in your love handles. You know what I mean?
I do it. Yeah. I do it like right next to my belly button.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have enough to go right there, that's so easy to do.
So you do it in your love handle?
Yeah. Yeah. Love handle. Oh, I don't really have much body fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I got on TRT back in 2018.
Got it.
And I didn't realize how bad I was. So I've been living in a chronic state of stress for years. I mean,
I can only imagine.
Yeah,
with your career.
Yeah, so I joined in literally from the time I was 18, joining the Marine Corps right out of high school.
Yeah.
I've just literally lived in this crazy state of stress until now. But I remember 2018, I felt like my body was just going in the wrong direction. I wasn't sleeping. I was losing weight. My appetite was garbage. So I did blood work, and my test was like 120.
Whoa!
Yeah.
But you still like looked huge.
Still looked huge, but I knew I could tell something was not right. Like getting out of the bed in the
you're just tired.
Morning, yeah. And then just getting on that, it was like someone breathed new life back into me.
So let's talk about that for a sec, because a lot of people think you got to have high testosterone to build all this muscle mass and like to have this physique. And you're over here saying, well, no, actually my testosterone was really low and I was still big. I just felt terrible.
Yeah. I mean, so I was carrying a little more water weight than I normally do. My endurance in the gym wasn't like it normally is, but when you still have intensity and intentional training and you're still eating right, you're still going to trend in the right direction, although it's not optimal.
Yeah, because you were doing all the right things. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like you just let yourself go. Because when you hear about people with 100 T, it's like, well, yeah, they look like it. They don't take care of themselves at all. Yep. That wasn't the case.
No.
So you're just saying that stress and probably age were what did it?
Yeah.
How old are you?
44.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that's something that most people don't even correlate testosterone to or metabolic dysfunction, stress. But when your cortisols are constantly in this elevated state, it affects everything in your body. When I came back from Iraq in 2009, I was going through a lot of mental stuff because I didn't really know how to integrate into
society,
normal society, because the conversations were just the ungratefulness and the selfishness that people have. I was having a really hard time. Like, is this really the way it is? And I was trying to seek out some different modalities for post-traumatic stress with no success. The only thing that helped me was cannabis. And I would do that before I would go to bed at night because it was the only way I could get to sleep. So literally I've been on this journey of trying to navigate through this PTSD stuff. And then November of last year, I actually linked up with a doctor. Her name is Shauna Springer. She wrote a book called Warrior. But she is in the stellate ganglion block forefront. She's one of the main faces for that treatment.
I don't know what that is.
So on each side of your neck here, each side of your C4, you've got a nerve bundle, the stellate ganglion block. And what happens is they go into this block of nerves with a needle, and they inject some, anesthetic in at the top part, and then they go into the bottom part.
Okay.
And I remember laying on the table. She went into the top part, and or the doctor did. And the way I describe it is, if something's vacuum sealed, where it's like super tight and compact, and you cut it open, and you can just see that.
That's what you felt
sensation went across my entire body.
Wow.
And there was this involuntary response of just, I started crying. But that was where the whole thing changed for me. I started thinking more clearly. The weight of the world was off my shoulders. And that was kind of the beginning of the new journey I was on. And it was at that point, I'm like, I need to talk. I need to get out there and speak. And I met Renee not too long after that.
Wow.
But that's just part of chronic state of stress. When you're in that state, you're stuck in a sympathetic state, which, your cortisol, adrenaline, everything's just pumping. You're
always
agitated,
on edge.
Yeah, anxiety.
Yeah.
But to go back in parasympathetic, it's like you can just breathe. You can lay there. You can sleep. You can just feel like you have control again. So it was a huge, huge moment for me.
Yeah, that's crazy. I had Gabrielle Lyon on. And
she's great.
And she's actually speaking at WealthCon. So anybody who's thinking about coming to WealthCon, she's going to give a great speech, wealthcon.org, if you want to attend. But basically she was like, look, the answer to, longevity and feeling good is muscle. It always has been. Put on muscle and you'll be good. And we talked about it on the podcast, and she was like, isn't it weird that testosterone and steroids and these things get a bad rep, yet anything to lose weight is like good.
Yeah.
And like these weight loss things and like these
Ozempic.
Sleeping pills and Xanax and whatever, right? Like they're like, oh no, those are good. Like, let's give those out. But anything that builds muscle, like what's better, a Xanax or a steroid?
Right.
They're not even close. The steroid's going to be way better than a Xanax, yet here we are.
It's the name steroid that has that stigma to it that just automatically makes people feel like, oh, you're cheating, you're bad, you're doing the wrong thing. How dare you get up there?
And honestly, I had that stigma too. That's why I never did it, because I grew up in pro sports, and so it was illegal. And I was like, dude, anybody who does that, loser. And finally, I just had a realization one day. I'm like, I'm not even playing any sports anymore. Like I'm a YouTuber, like nobody's drug testing me right now. Like what am I doing? I was like, all right, let's try it out. So, and I'm like, yeah. And somebody also said too, they were like, hey, think about the pros versus the cons. Like, is there a con to everything? Yeah, for sure. There's definitely, pros and cons to everything. But like, if you look at the benefits of doing this versus not doing it, the benefits outweigh any kind of side effects.
Yeah. Yeah. We're in an age right now where the food just continually it just gets worse. We're continually being fed the wrong things to do. So at some point, like you've got to have a moment, a conversation with yourself about your health and pulling it together, finding someone or some place or some community to go to allow you to start going in the right direction. And that's really what we're trying to create in this program is a community too. Like it's not just you're out there, we give you a program and you're just out there by yourself.
Yeah.
Like we communicate with everyone about everything that's going on. The more a client commits to the program, the more we're going to be involved and be committed with them. If someone comes on the program and they don't track metrics, they don't log anything, we don't know what they're actually doing. So,
yeah. And I'll say too, I'm talking about like all these, and you're talking about this gland thing, and I'm talking about all these peptides and stuff. But at the end of the day, regardless of your budget, if you have a gym membership and you just eat healthy, you're good.
Yep.
Like you're going to be real good.
Yeah.
These other things are just enhancements to good behaviors and, habits. If you don't have that first, the stuff doesn't do anything.
Yeah. You know when you're eating something wrong.
Yeah.
Like you know when you're opening up a wrapper, when you're ordering some bullshit.
I had my In-N-Out burger yesterday.
Well, I mean,
and it was animal style with fries.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to get one before I leave here, actually.
There we go. All right. So at least I got my protein in. But, it was within my macros.
Yeah.
So, like, I kind of look at it, and I'm like, hey, is it the best thing I could be eating? No. Am I hitting my macros? Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, though, it's like, all right, well, what is your definition of life? Some people can take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Liver King.
Yeah.
That's
I've had him on the show.
That's on the extreme side of things.
He's like, I just want dead animal, I just want raw animals, liver.
Yeah.
Not cooking nothing.
I mean, when you're going to sleep on boards and eat raw testicles, like that's a whole nother level. So it's like, all right, well, I think you really have to define life, what it means to you and how far you're willing to go.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't care about the deodorants you're putting on or the toothpaste you're brushing your teeth with. Maybe you just want to focus on, hey, you know what? I'm just going to eat clean food.
Yeah.
Anything within the realm of you having oversight and are aware and conscious of what you're putting in your body, the better off you're going to be. It's when you don't care and you're just eating anything and everything.
You're not tracking nothing. You have no idea where you're at.
Yeah. So again, so your question, like, how did I come over with Andy and what we're doing? Like, this is really, I say this isn't even about me. This is about me being in a place right now where I can live the most purposeful life. And Hollywood, I thought was going to be my end all be all, but it was really just a chapter that has allowed me to showcase my abilities to the world and to show people that if I can do it, they can do it. Anyone can really do it, because I try and break it down where you don't have to be a celebrity to have these type of results. And there has to be some ownership of your life and your health. We've got, here's real estate for you. Our bodies, we've got one house to live in for our whole lives. You can't short sell it. You can't sell it. You can't foreclose on it.
Well, you foreclose, you're dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's no escaping this house that you're in. So it's better that you take control of it and take care of it now.
Yeah.
Before it's too late, because when it's too late,
yeah,
your kidneys fail, your heart failed, like something happens, then you're going to look back and wish all the simple things that were there and available to you to do, you're going to just constantly obsess about should've.
Yeah.
And right now is the perfect time. Like literally right now, whoever's listening to this right now, I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
You need to take control of your life because it's in your hands. If you have a family, if you have a business, your employees, like there's people counting on you.
Yeah.
And you can't let them down.
Yeah. I like to think of my body and my house as like a beach house. You know, it's not super massive. Like it's not a mansion, but you know, it's like sleek. It's just on the beach.
Yeah.
Good view. That's what I'm going for.
That's perfect.
There we go. So, hey, where can people find out about the program?
The best place to go is earnitallacademy.com.
Earn It All.
earnitallacademy.com. And that's where all the information is. And if you have questions where you want to know more, you want more detail on, text wealthyway.
There we go.
To 602-900-8703.
We'll put that in the description.
Yeah,
so you guys got that.
And one of my coaches will reach out. Sometimes when I have time, I'll reach out.
Yeah.
But collectively, we're on this journey together, and it's extremely important that we take control of it now before it's too late.
No, I'm with you. You know, the Wealthy Way is all about just being great in all aspects of life, right? Business, health, family, faith, everything, right? And I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, if your personal life is lacking, right? Your relationships are bad. How do you think that affects your business, right? You're dealing with drama with your wife and you are not going to be optimal in business, right? We already talked about health. That's a no-brainer. You're not going to have an optimal marriage, right? If you're not healthy, and I hate to say it, but a lot of guys, you can't get it up. It's like, well, guess what, dude?
Right.
You better start taking your health seriously.
Yep.
You think about faith and it's like, man, there's a lot of people spiritually dead because they neglect that part and everybody just runs towards business. And I just actually had a friend tell me he's getting divorced this morning and I was like heartbroken, and he's like, dude, I just didn't put the time that was required. And, I just see that time and time again and everything. So that's, why I created the Wealthy Way. That's why I bring guys on to talk about health. That's why I bring pastors on. That's why I bring, relationship people on. So I bring my wife on and we just talk about relationships, and obviously money's important too, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to provide and all of that. So
as crazy as this sounds to say, I think if people could actually eat in a way that is just very basic and meaningful, there would be there would be much less problems across the world. And the reason I say that, and it's a ridiculous way of framing this because it's such a simple, weird way revolved around food. But when you're eating shit, your mind is not clear. Like the brain doesn't function the way it should because of inflammation. And when you have so much inflammation in your body, in general, people are just bitter across the board. They're resentful. They're jealous. When they see people like us succeeding and thriving, there's this organic hate that they have because how dare you do that? Like you should be down here with the rest of us. And I see this day to day, week to week through people when you talk to them or when you read comments and you're like, I wonder what's going on in this person's life to make them so hateful over saying something.
People are just always projecting themselves onto you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how it goes.
But again, I really think it has a lot to do with the way they're taking care of their health.
Yeah. They just feel that way.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, everything. All right. Last question I have. So I've got a crazy thing I heard the other day and I'm debating whether or not I'm going to try it. I'm going to bring this guy on the podcast because he has some wild theories about this way to get your health better. I'll tell you after you tell me, okay? What's the craziest thing you've heard about maybe health or some supplement or some thing that nobody's doing and you've thought about trying it or you believe in it? You got anything like that?
The craziest thing to me would be something along the lines of doing what the Liver King does, eating this raw, raw
that's
nonsense.
a crazy one.
Yeah, something that I've seen and heard about from a couple people, which doesn't even make any sense, is drinking your own piss.
Dude, that's what that was mine. I've heard that too. That's what I was going to talk about.
Everything about that sounds wrong. Like how can there be any potential health benefit in that when it's an excretory?
Okay, so I talked to this guy for about an hour about drinking your own pee, and I was like, dude, you're coming on the podcast because we have to unpack this. So guys, you got to subscribe if you want to see that episode. But he brought up a lot of good points that I'd never thought about. Like I said, I'm open to anything. So he was like, all right, dude, this is how he framed it. It was so funny. He was like, we were talking about my son. Because I was like, hey, we did stem cells. It was great. He's like, what if I told you could get stem cells, but it wasn't going to cost you like 15 grand? I was like, how? He's like, all right, well, just hear me out. And then he just like goes down this like rabbit hole of like explaining all these things. And then it inevitably goes to, hey, there's stem cells in your urine and they're 100% unique to you. And like urine is just full of them. And if you actually let urine sit for weeks, the stem cells like multiply. And so you could have more stem cells in just this thing of urine than what we pay 10 grand plus for. And he started to talk about it. He was like, look, urine has been around for a long time. And he's a Christian guy too. So he goes, Ryan, you're Christian. Let's talk about the biblical side of how God created humans. He was like, do you know what a baby does in the womb? And I was like, what do you mean? They're in the womb. He's like, the baby has like the tube in its mouth. Do you know what it's drinking? Its own urine. And I actually do remember that. My wife told me that a baby for 9 months just drinks its own urine over and over again. And what's in it is all these stem cells and nutrients that's helping the baby develop, right? I was like, okay, that's one thing. He goes, think about like these other things, that you hear about urine fixing. He's like, what do you do when you get like, what do they tell you to do when you get a jellyfish sting?
Yeah.
You pee on it because urine is an anti-venom. I was like, okay. And then I remember playing baseball that they would tell us, a lot of the Latin players would tell us that, hey, like if you have blisters or anything, you pee on your hands. And that's how you get rid of blisters and heal them. And I was like, you know what? I've actually heard this in many different scenarios, but I've never thought about it. And then I was like, dude, don't tell me the next thing you're going to say is like, I should go eat my own crap. Like what's next? And he was like, funny you say that. And I was like, oh boy, where's this going? And he talked about like these experiments they did on rats where, you had like this skinny rat and this fat rat. And they took the fecal matter of both and swapped them into like, they injected them into the rats. And instantly the fat rat became skinny and the skinny rat became fat. And the reason is like, its cells just changed automatically. Like because you inserted the cells of the two different ones, it automatically changed. And I was just like, dude, all right. So are you saying that like my son should just drink his own urine? Like, what are we saying here? He's like, look, you can. He's like, my kids do. And he's like, and they've had seizures and other things and they don't have them anymore. And I was like, really? And this guy's like a very big he does documentaries and stuff, like where he interviews doctors and all this. And he's the one who actually told me about the COVID thing where there's all these venoms in COVID.
Right.
It's like, where did these venoms come from? They're synthetic too. They're not even, so it just goes back to, China pretty much just made this virus synthetically. And one of the ways you poison people is literally by giving them poison. So long story short, I'm like, all right, dude, I'll make a decision. You're going to come on the podcast and I'm going to commit whether or not I believe this. And so he's going to come.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you've heard it too.
Yeah. I actually saw a video of this guy on Instagram not too long ago.
It's probably my friend.
And I'm like, because to me, like, I'm not a scientist. I've never even researched into drinking piss or eating shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll for sure watch the episode.
Yeah. I'm interested. I'm like, bro, like come down. So he's coming in like 2 weeks and we're going to dive deep and whether or not and I told him, I go, dude, you know what? If I do it, I'll do it on myself first and I'll give it like, I don't even know. I'll just try it. And then people are going to judge me and it's going to be fine. And then I'm just going to be that YouTuber who drinks his own piss. That's what's going to happen. But
I don't know how you can stomach it, honestly, especially the longer it sits.
Well, what he said was you would just drink it like right then and there. You wouldn't like just keep He's like, you could, and it would formulate more stem cells. But he's like, we just do it daily, just like straight from the source.
And that's a daily thing he does.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. And I don't know. We'll see. I guess what I'll say is I'm open to it. I'm open to whatever could get results. And because you know what's interesting too, even going to the COVID thing, like I just don't believe anything the FDA says anymore just because it's so corrupt and just everything is so backwards with how they treat people. And like everyone knows that by now. But, you know, I just remember Trump was getting in trouble for talking about whatever that thing was that he was saying, hey, this is like going to help people. And they're like, no, dude, that's rat poison. And
it's like ivermectin or something.
Something like that. And then like, sure enough, like a couple years later, like, yeah, that stuff actually was good. You guys should have been doing that. Yeah. And it's like, dude, you know, Pfizer and these guys making $100 billion and
it's freaking shameful, man.
Yeah.
I feel like our entire way of living was completely altered by this nonsense.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with this whole thing today.
Yeah. Well, you know, I have heard that drinking your own urine prevents COVID, so we'll see.
Interesting.
I don't know. I made that up, but I'm spreading fake news.
Right. They'll have the fact checkers on this.
Yeah, I'm spreading fake news. Hey, if anyone has heard that in the comments, let me know if you've heard what I'm talking about or if I'm just crazy. But dude, hey, I appreciate you coming by, man. We'll link to your guys' programs down below. Love what you're doing, helping people. It's amazing, man. So, just inspired by everything you and Andy are doing for everyone, man.
I appreciate it. We're just getting started.
Yep. Well, guys, if you like this episode, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
If you don't look like somebody that I'd want to invest my money in, I'm not going to invest my money in you. If I walked in, I had $1 million to invest today, and I walked in and I looked at you, and I didn't even hear you yet, but I looked at you and I didn't believe in you by the look at you, I'm out.